Go ahead.
Got it.
Call to order Town of St. John Board of Zoning Appeals for September 19th, 2022. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sir, could we please do a roll call?
Yep. Bob Rolson.
Here.
John Kennedy.
Here.
Drago Popovic.
Here.
Brendan Sharon is not here today. Mark LaRue.
Here.
Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
Councilman Liaison Brian Blazak.
Here.
And Town Manager Joe Wizawati.
Present.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are the August 15th Board of Zoning Appeals regular minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those? Would anyone like to make a motion regarding those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we've got, first on the agenda is 2022 developmental variance from St. John MC 2495 B4 to construct a two-story addition that encroaches into the 40-foot rear yard setback by approximately 5.5 feet at 12901 West 92nd Avenue, St. John, Indiana. Joseph and Linda, I'm sorry, folks, I'm going to butcher your last name. Malazzola? Not Mazziola. I missed a little part of that word. Okay. Please step up to the podium. Let us know what you're planning on doing. Get a little more detail.
My name is Linda Malziola, and I have resided with my husband Joe at 12901 West 92nd Avenue in the Shilton Hills subdivision for the past 27 years. We love our house, and we love our neighborhood, and we would like to age in place at our home. In order to do so, we would like to put an addition in with an elevator and remodel our home to better reflect our needs. So we are seeking a variance in the requirement for a minimum 40-foot rear yard in order to build an addition with an elevator. My husband's 70 and I am 68. We both have arthritis and knee problems that make climbing stairs difficult. I also have peripheral neuropathy in my feet as a result of chemotherapy treatment. I am also a fall risk due to neuropathy and osteoporosis I've developed from medications necessary after my cancer treatments. Our home has all of our bedrooms on the second floor as well as all of the showers. In the event my neuropathy worsens, it is possible that I will need a wheelchair at some point. Therefore, a chairlift will not alleviate our mobility problems. Our addition will accommodate safety and convenience issues to allow us to remain in our home. We will have a new master bedroom with wider doors and a shower with additional safety measures. Our current master bathroom will be converted to an upstairs laundry, which is currently in the basement of our home. We currently have a rear deck which is 14 feet deep, so the addition would only be a little over 2 feet past where the deck currently is. We spoke to several neighbors, as well as the one that's directly behind us, because he would be the one most effective, and no one had any objections. The siding on our addition would match the siding on our current house. In addition, we are planning on re-roofing the entire house so that the roof is all the same color. We are seeking the variance to allow us to build the addition. We have no further plans to encroach on the rear yard requirement for any other purpose or additional structure. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Any questions from the board?
So just to clarify, the last comment you made, you would only be seeking the 5.5 variance for this structure, not across your whole property line?
Correct.
Okay. Have you looked at making it, the addition 5.5 feet shorter?
I actually did call our architect after we found out that we weren't supposed to go that far back, and she said there's no way. She told us that we should probably, with the plans that we have, there's no way that she could do it, especially for the bathroom upstairs.
Okay. No other questions, Mr. President?
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? You mentioned before everything's going to match from as far as the existing,
Yeah, we're going to match the
Material.
siding as close as possible, and we are going to re-roof the entire house.
thing. Look aesthetically pleasing. Anybody else? Looks like I have a seat for just a second. Don't
Sure.
go too far.
Thank you.
Serge, do we have any remonstrances regarding this particular?
We have not received any written remonstration regarding this part.
Okay. Is there anyone here regarding this request, the petitioner regarding their, the setback? For public comment. And if there's not, we'll move on and we'll say close for public comment. You folks would like to step up again? If the board has got no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
This is what's.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a favorable recommendation to allow for an encroachment of 5.5 feet, that the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, and that the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. I would like to add a contingency, if it's okay with the petitioner, that the only variance of the 5.5 feet encroachment is allowed for this proposed structure, that the 5.5 feet cannot extend beyond anywhere else other than what's being proposed here.
Fair enough.
Agreed.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify too, this is not a recommendation, this is an approval. This is not going to the
Oh, I
town.
said
Oh, I'm
approval.
sorry.
No, that's all right. I just want to make sure that all the members were aware that there's no recommendation being made to the council for this.
I apologize, I said recommendation.
This ends with us.
Yes.
It's with you.
That's why I thought, whenever you say it to me, it's usually because I've made the other mistake, the opposite way,
So
so.
if you need me to amend my motion, I will say I make a
Do we need
a motion to approve
Yeah,
the variance for 5.5 feet, referencing the finding of facts and the one contingency.
Yes, that'll work.
Is it 5.5 or 4.5?
It says 5.5.
5.5.
5.5. So it'd be 34.5 feet rear yard.
According to the foundation plan, it's about a little over 4.
Yeah. 34.5.
My actual petition just said 16 feet 4 inches by whatever it
This is
was. and-
approximately 5.5.
Yeah,
so
I think that's-
We're not gonna get out there and measure at this
Okay.
point in the day, I don't think.
Thank you.
So, motion carries, we approved. Good luck with
Thank
your
you very
project.
much.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is 2022-23 developmental variance from St. John MC 24-462B to construct a 1,400, start again, a construction of 1,456 square foot attached garage, 356 square feet over the allowed garage space at 13300 Camas Drive, St. John. Alexander and Marissa Spork, owners, Charlie Hoffman, Chili Construction.
Good evening.
Hi, Charlie, how are you?
All right, and you?
Good.
Good.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Representing the homeowners, Alexander and Marissa Spork, on a variance request for a larger garage. Garage itself is larger than what is currently zoned. 1,100 square feet, I think, is the maximum. They're looking to expand the garage, put a bigger home in, put a bigger garage in with it. The additional area is going to be used for recreational purposes for both friends and family during inclement weather.
Just I'm clear, this is a completely new construction. This is not just an add-on, this is
Correct. This
everything-
is
okay.
Greenfield.
Gotcha. And what subdivision is this again, Charlie?
Say again?
What subdivision is this in? I'm just curious.
This is in preserves.
Reserves, okay. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to make an assumption.
Yep.
Are there any questions for Mr. Hoffman?
Mr. Hoffman, what are they proposing the additional, why are they requesting the additional square footage? Again,
Town code limits us to 1,100 square feet. The purpose of it is really for recreational purposes, for friends, family. A garage has become almost a man cave, a second room in the house, other things like that. That's the intent.
are they allowed to, in the preserves, they're not allowed to put a auxiliary structure, are they?
I don't believe so. I mean,
So they could, I mean, if they needed more space, they could put a 720 square foot shed on their backyard. Based on our code, they're allowed 720 square feet.
yeah, this has nothing to do with anything external. This is an attached garage that's being expanded.
I'm just saying if they needed additional space,
Oh.
they could potentially put items in a
There's an
storage
option.
shed.
Sure.
What's the size of the lot, Charlie? I'm trying to figure out.
I'll have to defer back to
Did
the
this end
survey
of
that
it.
we provided.
It's an odd-shaped lot, so.
Yeah, it is an odd shape. It's a cul-de-sac. It doesn't encroach anywhere on, near the setback lines of the property. This is just going to the back of the garage. And you have plenty of room back on the backside.
We don't know that, what the size of the, I mean, I can see that, but is acreage-wise, is it half acre, 3/4 of an acre? If you could do the math real quick.
Yeah, let's see.
I mean, the square footage of the house is 3,900 square feet. That
Right.
does not include the garage.
Right,
So
so
it's
it's a rather
pretty,
large home,
it's a pretty large home.
yeah.
So in square footage, I think it's 2,800 for a two-story. So they're 1,100 feet over
Over
what
that.
our subdivision control ordinance allows.
Any other questions for Mr. Hoffman? I doubt, do we have any, sorry, hang on a second here. Any questions for Mr. Hoffman? No?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Have a seat for just a second,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Hoffman. I doubt we got any of these, but do we have any remonstrance regarding this request?
We have not received any written remonstration regarding this request.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. Open for public comment. Is there anyone here regarding this topic? Yes, sir. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Paul Huguley. I'm with Huguley Construction Company, and we own the lot. We're one of the builders in the preserve, and we own the lot next door, lot 225.
Okay.
I have a big problem with this request. In my experiences with variances of any nature residentially, they're usually for a hardship. They're usually for perhaps an odd lot or something like the previous couple was talking about, a needed thing. This is not fit that category in any way. It's 32% larger than the allowable garage. and I'm trying to figure out why you need such a big garage. The way it's designed, it pushes the house back. The garage sticks out over 50 feet in front of the house. The houses on the block are all set back at about 30 feet. And this is pushing that house right back to all the neighbors. And when we build our house next door, we're gonna have to look at a 52-plus foot man cave, as this gentleman said. When we bought lots in the preserve and came to St. John, we were given the covenants and restrictions for the subdivision, and we researched the ordinances for sizes on residents. There's several hundred people in the development there, more to come. I don't know that there's ever been a variance of this nature in that subdivision, and I don't think this is a valid request. Just because someone wants a larger garage doesn't mean they should be able to enlarge it by 30-some% when everybody else on the block has conformed to the covenants, restrictions, and setbacks and size-wise. I think it's going to look way out of character in that block. I don't think it's right, I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's, I think it's going to open a can of worms.
Okay.
There are estate lots that were available in that subdivision, and this is a house that should be on an estate lot. Shouldn't be on one of the regular lots, standard lots in the subdivision.
Okay. Thank you.
So I would ask that you deny the proposal. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else here regarding this proposal? We'll close public comment. Mr. Hoffman, you'd step back up to the podium, please. Last gentleman brings up a very valid point as far as the overall look of the neighborhood and the aesthetics of the garage. Can you explain to us again why they're requesting for such a large garage or an extra garage? I'm trying to make heads and tails. I'm not, this is not my forte. There's a couple people on the board that are more in tune to look at these drawings, understand what the devil you're looking at. So if you can explain in better detail as to, forget about setbacks, all that's fine, but from the standpoint of adding that much more space, the gentleman prior to you had some valid points there.
Before you speak, Sergio, can you get the aerial photo back on the screen? And it's the one with the arrow?
Yes.
I'm gonna superimpose that on top of it, make it easier for me to understand.
Yeah, here's the one.
I'm looking
Okay,
for it. It's
see
not
that.
showing up. Boundaries. Roads. Yeah.
What's your dimension of your house? Or what's the square footage?
We haven't built that one.
Oh,
But this is an overall top-down look on this.
okay, I thought you were to the one to the next door. Never mind.
I think this is in the presentation there. You might want to look at this.
It is, but I-
Give you a sense of how far out the garage sticks in front of the house. Relationship to the.
We're gonna, if you're gonna speak, we need you to come up to the microphone,
Yes,
if that would be
please.
okay.
Can I,
Please.
okay. I'm sorry, I just,
No, that's fine, it's
Wanna
just,
make
it's
sure
hard,
that-
it's hard to hear, and then if there's, for the record, it's hard to get the information.
Thanks, Joe.
I think there's a slide of this floor plan, which I received.
I'm seeing a number of different floor plans or drawings here, but to understand what you're talking about is the garage
Here it
sticking
is,
out.
right
I
here.
don't see that.
Here, right there. You could reduce that down.
Okay, so this is the front of the house here, or the front of the house is,
What you see over on your right, lower, that area where,
Yeah.
that's all garage.
I understand that. I got that picture. What I'm trying to understand,
This right here.
you mentioned it's gonna be sticking out in front of the house, but it looks like if this is the front of the
This
house,
is the driveway.
oh, coming this way, so it's
Yeah,
it's a
it's
curve?
coming,
It's
yeah.
a side low garage? Okay, all right. Now
That's
it
it.
makes a little better sense to me. I was trying to understand the orientation. Yeah, all
So
right,
this is turned on this, like this.
all right.
The garage is almost as big as the first floor. And I have concerns because he said man cave. People are going to live next door. They don't want to live next door to a big party going on all the time. That's not something that,
We're making assumptions
know,
here, though,
I'm
sir. Let's
sorry.
not, let's just keep to what the information is. Man cave may have been a bad choice to use, but, hold on, Charlie, you'll get your say in a second. I'm just, you can't make assumptions and say it's gonna be parties all the time. They're asking for a 3-car garage. He asked for a man, he mentioned man cave. I can't tell you how many cars or houses I've gone by in Lake Hills that have their TVs in the garage. That's not where I'm gonna spend my time. I give a recliner in my family room, and that's where my butt sits, not
I understand that.
garage. So,
However,
I understand what you're coming from too, sir. I'm just trying to point out that you can't
Put the
make an
aerial
assumption
photo
it's gonna
back
be a
on.
party all the
Well, I
time.
just was
Stick-
saying what
let's
he
stick with
said.
the facts of what we're looking at here.
So what's your lot? So you're not on 227, you're,
I'm next, 225.
you're
Yeah,
on
right there.
225?
Yes,
So you're not, okay, you haven't built yet?
no.
Because 227's a big house too. That's, and they go back pretty far on the rear of
I-
the property.
I question the merits of asking for a variance just because you want a bigger garage. There are reasons that there are ordinances,
Yeah.
covenants and restrictions, and 30% over is a lot. It just seems like it's,
Well, the reason I was asking for the lot size too, we also have an ordinance based on lot size.
Yeah.
Not knowing what the lot size is, how far off we are from that number to what's allowed within that square footage of the lot itself.
well,
So not
my,
knowing that, for me anyway, the rest of them may have a difference of opinion here.
Well,
I don't know where we stand with that.
the ordinance, I believe, says the maximum garage is 1,100 square feet. They're asking for a 1,456 square foot garage.
I
It's
understand
over
that.
30% bigger.
But again, this is all goes back to lot size. If you have a larger lot, then you're entitled to more garage space as well. Am
I don't
right
think
or wrong
that, I
about
don't
that,
think so.
Sergio?
It's, the way the ordinance reads, it's not based on lot sizes, unless you're over an acre, or I'm sorry, acre and a half, then
Okay.
increases another 500 square feet, additional square feet of accessory structure.
Okay.
But under a certain lot size, which is an acre and a half, I believe, you're allowed 1,100 square
1,100 is
feet.
an acre and a half. Okay, I thought it was smaller than that. That's why it was, again,
This
asking
is,
for
this
the
is,
lot size.
this is smaller than an acre and a half. So, I'd probably guess it's probably quarter of an acre, maybe slightly more, based on a quick rough.
Okay. God, I would think it'd be more than a quarter of an acre,
So-
that size of lot.
Yeah, I think 122 by 149 gets 18,000 square feet, approximately about in half in the triangle. It might be a little bit larger than that, maybe.
We're more close to where the ordinance.
We're
is gonna
not
make a
close to
difference.
the ordinance that would push it over.
Yeah, let's not do the math on it if it's not gonna be close to it. Okay, all right. Thank you, sir. You can have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, you'd like to stand back up, and you think you had a point you wanted to make?
Actually, I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah, well, only one additional item, and that is the garage. I believe that the layout on the home is on the left-hand side. Mr. Huglow's property is on the right-hand side of that. So the garage wall that he's looking at being concerned of seeing is probably on the opposite side of the house.
They're gonna be looking more at the front of the garage.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, the
yeah.
variance we're here for is for the size of the
Yeah,
garage.
no.
Right.
The positioning is also something I think you gotta take into account, but that's just me. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Hoffman from the board? There's no other questions. Would anyone like to make a,
Well, I do have a question for Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Hoffman, what happens if the variance is denied will you still build this house?
I've got to take that information back to the homeowner himself. I don't know if he'll want to build it. Okay, that's a question for the homeowner themselves. The construction company won't refuse to build it, but I'm here representing them to seek out that variance, right?
Okay. Because I was a little bit more inclined, I was under the assumption in the preserves that the covenants does not require an accessory structure,
Doesn't allow you, mean.
doesn't allow.
Doesn't allow.
And of 720 feet, which the town subdivision control ordinance allows. But it seems like, I don't know if that if that's accurate. So I was a little bit more understanding if you couldn't add a 720-foot structure to it to add additional square footage to the garage. But if it's just for additional space for personal use and not to store stuff, I probably would lean in not allowing, because it isn't a hardship and, so, just comments for the board.
Yeah.
I was under the impression the preserves doesn't allow it, so I'm thinking, okay, they can't have 720 square feet to store equipment and things like that in their garage. The
Right.
house is 1,100 square feet, so, it is 39% bigger than what our subdivision control ordinance allows for. So he's in that range of 30% larger garage. But I think, if they are allowed to and is it a hardship then, which is
Yeah.
accurate, so.
We don't know the covenants of the preserves, Sergio, as far as if they allow or don't allow that?
We have not memorized those covenants.
Okay. All right, well, with that,
The home has been under review by the organization that owns the covenants,
okay.
okay? And there's been no concerns expressed on that.
With regards to the larger lot, the larger
Correct.
garage?
Correct.
Would someone like to make a,
Can I ask a question?
please?
This appears to be a three-car garage. I'm sorry, my mic's not on. This appears to be a three-car garage with a side area, if you will, with a man door, and then there, it looks like there's a small overhead door.
Yeah, that overhead door has been drawn out of scope for this. The preserves does not allow the overhead door, so there'll be a man door.
So
in
there'd be two man
that
doors?
area. Yes.
Okay. So there'd be two man doors and three-car garage.
One to the patio, and then one to the home.
Okay.
And one to the driveway.
Would the, I mean, with the accessory building, what's the square foot maximum?
720.
And they allow that in the preserves?
We don't know that.
I was under the impression they don't, so that's why I've,
Well, the reason why I was saying is if they actually were to wall that in and have it as a,
part of their house. it
yeah, a
doesn't-
breezeway or whatever.
That's just to the right of the left of the garage doors?
Yeah, yeah. it's
Yeah,
kinda-
I mean,
That's
I was
what I
looking
was
at that too,
thinking. I
trying to
mean,
figure
that
out-
would be a good solution or compromise. Just a thought.
No, I don't disagree with you on that. When I saw the drawings, I didn't understand what that was. It's additional storage space, essentially, a larger garage.
I mean,
This
it's not
is
like,
more than
it's
one
not
way
like
to
it's a
look at
four-car
this.
garage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you're right. When you look at the overall square footage, I think it probably could fall into, because you've got that space between, say, the garage closest to the house, that space there seems rather large. I wish I had that in my garage.
I mean, it wouldn't be necessarily living space, but it would be storage
Right,
room.
right.
And for what it's worth, I've always, instead of having a two-car garage, have a three-car garage, brings value to the home. I mean, you never have a big enough garage. When you have 3-car garage, you wish
Up
you had a
four.
4-car
That's the
garage.
truth, too.
You wish you had a 4-car garage, you wish you had a pole barn, so.
True.
You always want more, don't you, Bob?
That's the American way.
Okay, with that, the other questions for Mr. Hoffman? From the board or anyone from?
Would they be amenable to making an accommodation to do something like that, to modify that?
Homeowners are feeling they've been amenable just to go through the variance process because they wanted to start their home 6 weeks ago.
Right.
I mean, beyond that, of course, there will be revisions to prints and other things like that that would set us back that potentially would hinder the whole construction process through the off-season. So I think that's been the concern, the primary concern expressed by the homeowner up till now.
What is? So the shortest, I'm looking at the drawings, if I can make this stuff out, Charlie, is the shortest depth is at 28.8, largest depth is at 30 foot 8. Is that correct? And then we've got this additional space to the closest to the home. That's, again, looks to me like another really, if you were to look at it, you could probably put another garage door in there instead of the man door. Probably a perfect place to put a boat, but just thinking out of the box here.
I believe that is a long-term
that's-
intention there, Mark.
Yeah, I
The
believe
beats
that's-
having it in the driveway.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my neighbor's boat in front of my house either, or in his driveway all year long. Okay. No further questions from me. Would someone like to make a motion regarding this request?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for approval for STJMC 24-462. And approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. That the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property.
Any conditions or contingencies on that, Bob?
No.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Sergio, I think we probably should take a roll on that.
Okay. Bob Burleson,
Yes.
John Kennedy,
No.
Drago Popovic,
Yes.
and Mark LaRue.
Yes. Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, 2022-24 developmental variance, St. John MC 24-516E2 and St. John MC 24-492 to allow variance from screening on all peripheral lot lines where the adjacent property has a different lot use and to allow no designated parking spaces on site at 9550 Hart Street, St. John. K&C Property Holdings LLC, Kenneth Drench, applicant owner, and Doug Rettig,
Very good.
DVG. And
Good
you
e-
are, sir.
Good evening. I'm Doug Rettig from DVG. Ken Drent, the property owner, is here as well. We've been working on this project. It's a self-storage facility. The property was recently subdivided into a one-lot subdivision. It's been sitting there vacant for many, many years. It's been zoned industrial for many, many years. We've tried different projects over the years for the previous owner, which is the Crop family. Tried tried two-lot subdivision and so on and so forth, but bottom line, we're here with a project that was approved recently as a one-lot subdivision. We're working on the site plan, and it's a self-storage facility, around 75,000 square feet of enclosed self-storage. Mr. Drenth has a similar project in St. John at the corner of 77th and 41. Sits back a little bit off the road. I think it's called 41 Ulock.
Yeah, sure.
So this is going to be like a sister site to the one he has on 41. So it's going to be a gated storage. There's no office space because he has office at his other facility. It's all going to be done by kiosk and gated, and you can only get in if you're a tenant and you're paying rent and you're current on your rent. You have access to the gate to get in and store your belongings. We've worked with Sergio on different variances. We've had a lot of conversation. Even Mr. Decker got involved, but we got it down to these two variances that we believe we need. One is regarding allow variances from screening on all peripheral lot lines where the adjacent property has a different land use. So what we have here, and we're seeking a variance on that for, I think it's a good reason. So the property is zoned industrial. North is to the left on that drawing there. So Hart Street is along the top of the drawing. Hart Street, of course, runs north-south. So it's a very unusual site. We got a lot of wetlands. We have a legal drain, a ditch running through the property. We have floodway. That's what the red lines are, floodway, flood zone. So we're building on the high ground, the good ground, if you will. But we also have natural buffers. We have a railroad behind us to the west. But again, on the other side of the railroad tracks, it's industrial. So we don't have we have the same zoning going that way. To the north, I believe it's zoned industrial. To the south, well, we're not developing the south half of our property because of the ditch and the legal drain that runs through there. So we really don't have, even though Three Springs is to the south of that on the other side of Joliet Street, we have a very, very large buffer to the south. And across the street, this is where that land is floodplain, flood zone, floodway. It'll never get built on. It can't be built on, but yet it's zoned residential.
Sure.
So it'd be different if we knew there was going to be houses there, but there can't be. So we're seeking a variance from that screening requirement because there will be nobody across the street that will actually even be able to look at this because you can't build there. So that's the first variance. So the hatched blue lines show the floodway limit. So that whole area over there is unbuildable. Can't build in a floodway. We're working around the floodway at our property. That's why the whole south end is unbuildable. Even though we have a little bit of frontage on Joliet Street, we can't build there either. We are agreeable to putting the sidewalk in that the town asked for, but so.
Are you doing compensatory storage because of the flood zone?
We don't need to.
Okay.
We're building outside of the flood zone.
Okay.
We're working around, we're working right there on the high ground, right there. That's our site.
Everything's gonna be built outside of the flood, the 500-year flood zone and all that?
We're into the flood zone just a little bit,
Okay.
but your ordinance does not require comp storage.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And of course, we're building way above, the 2 foot above the BFE. So that's the one variance. The other variance is kind of unique too. Per your ordinance, it says parking requirements for self-storage facilities. It's at the very end of the table. You need one parking space for every 500 square feet. Well, simple math. If we got 75,000 square feet of storage, we would need 75 parking spaces. I think there's a mistake in your ordinance. I don't think it really means that.
I'm not responsible for the ordinance, sir.
I
so
suspect it means.
None of us on this board
I
are
understand.
responsible for that. So.
I suspect it means 500 square feet of office area. If you have an office, you have people coming and going, paying their bills. We don't even have that because it's all operated out of the other facility. So if you had a 2,000 square foot office and you needed 4 parking spaces, we wouldn't be asking for this. We don't have an office. We're not even connecting anything to sewer and water. So we're
My guess is you wouldn't want people parking their cars inside there next to their unit anyway. That would make
There's,
Around there probably a little difficult, I'm with the
it's
guys.
just, yeah, I mean, I don't think you see any self-storage facilities with 50 parking spaces. You see a few around the office area. So because of that, there's some, maybe it's a typo in the ordinance, but nonetheless, we have to respect the ordinance, and that's the other variance that we are seeking.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Reddick on this proposal?
Doug, you brought up US 41. Is there screening currently at that facility?
He's not out front on, he doesn't front on 41, he sits back, there's other lots in front of him. He's in Sherrville, he's not in St. John.
You run along 77th, correct, sir? Yes. So do you have any screening along 77th?
But you don't go all the way to 77.
Yeah, the old section does.
Oh, that one,
Yeah, please step
Yeah.
up to the mic, sir. And identify yourself, please.
Sure. I'm Ken Drenth, owner of 41 ULOC and K&C Property Holdings. Your question, along 77th there, I've got the black chain link fence with landscaping. So, yeah, there is no. It's nice to have the chain link fence for security, so as people are, everybody's driving by, you can see in the night if something, is going on that shouldn't be. So prefer to have that over having the.
So what would we be seeing along
Hart Street.
Hart Street? Would it be a back
Buildings.
of the, would it be,
Yeah, you'll be seeing the back of 3 buildings.
we shading the back of the building with landscape. Again, Hart Street is along the.
Thank you.
There's no doors on that side of the buildings. You'll just see the back of the building there, and that will all be landscaped also.
Is any of this buildable?
And in between the buildings, there'll be fencing.
Nothing?
so a lot of it, there's some overgrown shrubbery, or I don't know what you would call it currently. Is all that going to be removed?
Oh, yeah, the entire, I believe we got 6 acres that will be,
Actually see this.
So,
including
Doug, that-
detention areas that will be.
You got a ditch along and run Hart Street. Right now, there's some overgrown vegetation in it. Is that all going to be removed? Will you have a clear side of the site?
We're gonna clear the building area. We're not intending to do any work in the floodway, where the ditch is.
So that,
If it's,
Sergio, do we have a map view that, it's like, so we can.
I'm just
see-
trying to get an understanding of
I
how
think
much
it-
of the site is going to
There.
get cleared from its
Yeah, on the
current
bottom.
condition.
that shows a pretty good picture right there.
No, you're still in the old house.
He had it and it
Yep.
disappeared.
Doug, unfortunately, you're going to have to go back up to the microphone or we're going to get yelled at.
I'm gonna point and I'll go back.
Okay.
That's the site. We're only building.
Yeah, there's no question with that, Doug. We're just looking at, I wanted to see the street view of this, to see what we're looking at. So if you can step back up to the podium.
So none of that is going to be, so what you're seeing right now, will be clear. I'm trying to minimize the visual, not that your buildings are ugly, sir, I know what they look like, but I think trying to minimize it with leaving as much of that as possible would be,
In front of the buildings, that will be removed, because we have to, we have an elevation change. There'll be transition grading, there'll be grass and landscaping,
so all that is going to be removed.
but not where the ditch is further south.
Okay.
So a lot of the site will be left natural, about the south half, but where he's building, we'll be clearing the land all the way out to the road. The buildings will be sitting up a little bit above the road, there'll be transition slope down to the road. Drainage along the road will not be impacted at all.
Doug, how far are the buildings off the pavement?
We're at about a 60-foot building line from the right-of-way, probably another 15 to the edge of pavement. So 75 to 80
75
feet from the road.
75, 80, okay.
Yeah.
And you plan on putting, looks like the trees, landscaping the trees and,
Right. We want it to look nice. We had an alternate plan where we were going to have a driveway that paralleled Hart Street, and then you would be seeing the doors to the facility. But then we made a change, and now we have the back wall of a building. We don't have a driveway. We don't have cars along Hart Street. We have landscaping. We thought it was a nicer look. You don't have to see all those individual doors. You see a wall with landscaping.
Okay.
And this is going to be fenced how?
All the way around,
With?
chain link. Black chain link?
Chain link.
Or-
Well, black along the front.
Black along the front.
around the back, that'll all be galvanized.
But in the front, there's very little fencing, just in between the buildings,
Correct.
because the building is the wall, if you will.
So Doug, based on the drawing you just handed us for your landscaping plan, where does the chain link fence bisect? Was to say is it in between the trees and the landscaping, or where's the fence?
The east wall of the east building, that's right up against Hart Street, will connect the corners of the building with fence.
Oh, gotcha. So there will be no fence on that side. It will be
Up at the very
Minimal.
entrance.
minimum, yeah, gotcha.
Very minimal fencing. But at the entrance, we have a kiosk and a gate, that's where that little parking area is, a turnaround area.
Oh, I
Somebody
see.
forgets their code, they could back up and leave if they can't get in. So it's very little fencing along Hart Street. And matter of fact, it'll be mostly obscured by the landscaping.
And the buildings facing Hart Street, there's gonna be garage doors.
That's just that's the back. It's the back.
Oh,
of
it's the back of the
They
buildings.
flipped it.
The doors will be on the west side of that row
All
of buildings.
those buildings, okay.
Only.
That's,
Yeah.
okay.
So Sergio, explain, just from my understanding again, screening I understand it's two different, it's a light industrial, and then he has residential to the east. But what would the screening requirement be again? It's 10 feet buffer? It has to be, and does it have to be,
Read it, because I have it right here.
has to be opaque?
Opaque screen should be installed and maintained and shall have a total height of not less than 6 feet, not more than 7 feet. Where there is a difference in elevation on opposite sides of the screen, the height shall be measured from the highest elevation.
Okay.
The screen shall consist of one or more of the following: walls, berms, plantings. Yeah, I can continue. If you
No, I just wanted to make sure.
And what's your buildings gonna be made out of?
Steel,
Steel siding.
Steel siding.
Morton Buildings.
So Doug, I would imagine what you're presenting here in the landscaping plan, you can see I'm a little sensitive to the landscaping on the east side of the site,
Should be.
Mr. Drenth as well. Me and Bob are fortunate enough to be on both the BZ and the Plan Commission, so we would have some control over this landscaping ordinance. Would there be any consideration or contingency if this board would be amenable to allow a waiver that, I would imagine this meets our subdivision control ordinance landscaping requirement? Would you be willing to maybe provide additional landscaping to maybe offset some concerns about reducing, I don't know if you need a decision now, but
Yeah,
The landscape plan was just completed, it's being reviewed right now. We haven't got any feedback on that yet. This is the first time we've presented it tonight. We wanted to get this taken care of before we go back to the Plan Commission, obviously.
Okay.
So I believe, we had a landscape architect do this. I didn't get too involved. Does it meet it? I believe it does.
I would imagine, yeah.
Would a couple more trees, a couple more bushes make a difference to the Plan Commission, to the BZA?
Yeah, that's what, I was thinking that too. On the east side, looks good. Your landscaping, I'd want to see more on the south side and the north side
Those are
with
both-
landscaping.
Those are both detention basins, so they're gonna be,
I think there's enough.
Oh,
foliage
yeah,
to the
yeah,
back
yeah.
of
we
that
have,
anyway
we
that
have
goes
a couple hundred feet to the
wetlands.
north and several hundred feet to the south. It's gonna be detention and natural.
Yep, no, I got it.
We have natural buffers anyway. And they're, similar zoning, so,
Okay.
and I don't think the railroad tracks mean a whole lot.
Any other questions? Gentlemen, have a seat for a second. We're going to open it for public comment. Any remonstrances that came through, Sergio?
No written remonstration that we
Okay.
received.
If you're here to speak about this, sir, please step up to the podium and let us know who you are, where you live.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Lester Fox, 10753 Thielen Street, basically in the lower left-hand corner of that diagram there, where you see the Hart Street easement ending there. My property begins in that corner there and extends to the northeast there. So I think a couple things were brought up, and not clearly perhaps, about the elevation changes, and we should probably be talking about line of sight, right? We think about the 3 residential properties that will be most affected by this. There's myself here, as I mentioned. There's another property up along Rascals there, up along Hart Street and Thielen Street, and then, of course, down to the upper right in that diagram, along Joliet Street and Hart Street. So because it is a wetland there, that area is, of course, much lower, right? So you can see clearly right over all that. So even with certain screening in that, right, depending upon where it's put, elevation-wise, it'll either be effective or non-issue, frankly. So yeah, I think he's got the image down there.
Mr. Fox, what lot is yours again? Where do
You go back to. Fortunately, the orientation keeps changing here, but this is me right here. So I own all this property here. And then back here, that's all me. Right, so I have a direct line of sight from the back of my house to the proposed building site. So even if they've got this drainage ditch and such over here, I'm gonna be looking right at it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So what's highlighted there, that's where you're at? The,
Yes, sir, that's my house, my
Yep.
backpack right there, so I look right across those railroad tracks. So this is Rascals right over here.
yep,
They would be down here, they've got that buffer there with the drainage. And then on the high part here, which basically the only buildable part of that is where they would be, but as you can see, line of sight is straight into the backside of that property. And so that's my issue with the variance, right? I can tell you that the industrial behind me, that previous folks had given the variance, so they don't even have any screening, so all winter long, I get to look at all their stuff stored back there. They did leave a buffer, but they weren't even asked to plant any trees, they did not put any screening in the fence, anything, and frankly, if they would have just done either one of those, would have helped
is your
immensely,
property,
and I would be willing to, work with everybody to come up with a meaningful solution to everybody's needs. But I think screening in that corner there, if you bring up the build plot again with the buildings on it. Yeah,
Sure.
that one right there. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on back here. I haven't seen your plan back here. But if you look at the elevation changes here, if there's some screening in this area, this corner here specifically would block, my view. But I can see, a fair amount down the railroad tracks because it is clear. I am higher. This land slopes down. There's a drainage
Industrial.
here all the way down there. Creek down here that ties into the wetland drainage.
your property's higher than the railroad tracks?
Yes.
Property to the north.
There's
is
quite a bit of
industrial.
elevation change,
Side of the tracks is residential.
and probably 500 feet there. As far as the parking, I don't have anything to say about that. It's really about the variance for screening that I'm here to speak against.
We get that street view again, Sergio. I'm just trying to get a view of what the gentleman's talking about. I know where Rascals at. I'm trying to vision. My kids went there for
Yeah.
a lot of years, and I can't visualize
Yeah,
where your
that's
house is
what-
at. That's why I'm asking.
He's on the west side of the tracks.
Yeah, it's highlighted in blue there. Part of my
He's
property.
across from the little detention pond. Here's the,
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, all right. Now I know.
Detention pond.
All right.
I'm right here.
Yep, yep.
Just across the detention pond.
But this thing is down over here.
Right. And he's higher than the railroad tracks, and this property drops.
You're in the house that moved?
Yes.
Yes.
Don't do it.
Oh, I know the White House. Okay, now I know.
Don't do
Okay,
it.
I know.
Don't ever move a house.
You have your house is very pretty. So.
Don't ever move a house.
Okay, now I know where you're at. All right, now this makes a
Don't
little
do
more
it.
sense to me. I was trying to
Used
figure
to
out where
sit
the
here,
devil's
didn't it?
at.
This side?
Just up the street. I think more where the fire station, the
Yeah.
police station's at.
So Rascals is here.
I knew the people that lived there.
Yeah, that's a great shot there.
This,
It's here.
yeah.
Right, so and again, it's not quite north-south, but, so straight back there, back here. Now, again, this is the part that came up last time. Everybody's like, oh, well, you can't see. Yeah, in the summer, it's screened quite well because of our screen. But in the winter, once the leaves all drop. straight
Okay.
up.
I guess I've never really looked in that
But
perspective.
our ordinance is only 6 feet high. So even with 6 feet, He probably,
It still matters, perspective.
would that help you 6 feet, or would that even not help? Would
Well,
that-
something's better than nothing, first of all. Second of all, I mean, I think plantings would be better, frankly, you know.
Why I'm saying that, because the railroad tracks are here, and then how much lower?
Well, I would say we're about the same height.
No, the property where they're developing. It's
Well,
quite a
it
bit
is-
lower, isn't it?
But not 20 feet lower.
No, right, there's
It's
basically
elevation
dip
change.
in the
Can you
middle,
Pull it up.
I think. But you're right, I'm gonna look across the valley, if you will, of the railroad tracks.
I don't have one with the topo.
Seems like the
There you go.
tracks are a lot higher than the property you're developing.
Actually,
No,
No?
692.
actually, I
think
do have
that-
some elevations here. The tracks next to our northwest building, the railroad's up around
He's at 701, that's at 692.
703, 704 probably, and our finished floor
713.
Tracks are 704?
approximately.
Okay.
Yeah, it's lower.
700, 693, 694.
I mean, we're gonna be several feet below the tracks to our finished floor. Of course, our roof will be higher.
I didn't hear you, Doug. How much?
We'll be several feet below the elevation of the railroad, but not, not above, but the roofs will be above.
but again, you gotta remember the height of my property, the elevation of my property there.
Is that, yeah, it's 700, 713.
7. Yeah, I don't know what this guy, that's probably, that looks like a lot higher. It's going up.
699 there.
But then I think it's going up.
You can see how my backyard traps off, right?
It's
Going
501.
down right there,
700.
it comes back up the other side.
It might be like 700,
So it is
No,
lower
it-
than.
it
what is
drops
that, lower
off
than-
from the
that
railroad
property, so
down.
that's where it's coming from.
7 or 8 feet lower.
Yeah, I see yours, yeah.
Down and then
Yep.
back up, though.
But we're cutting that hill down. We are lowering, the high part of our site, we are lowering. And talking to Mr. Drenth a second ago, we could possibly put some plantings along our northwest corner, some trees along that northwest corner to help alleviate that. I don't think a 6-foot berm would do a whole lot there. We don't really have capacity for that.
Would arborvitae's help you out, or?
Yeah, and that's what I would think, if you're gonna plant something deciduous, wouldn't do anything
Right,
for
I think
half the year.
What's in the
right?
proposed plans on the east side? Is it gonna be something along like an evergreen style, or what are we, it's gonna be, it's not just gonna drop its leaves or its needles, it's gonna have something year round, correct?
Arborvitae's.
Okay, yeah,
So,
that's, I've
So
got
they
those in my
grow
backyard
tall,
too.
they grow fast.
Right,
Um,
nice screening.
Yeah, I'm concerned, are we gonna plant them in an area where they're gonna do any good?
I think so.
It floods out there, it's a flood area there?
No, not here.
That's,
You're
get too much
talking,
water, they're not gonna
you're
survive.
talking about planting them on the northwest
That's a
corner.
detention
Yeah.
basin.
Right here.
So we're gonna probably have to put them over here. Up near the railroad right away is about the only place to put them, to help. Because you're,
To block that view.
that's all gonna be left alone. That's all gonna be, stay natural. Then we're doing a detention basin here. So you'll still have a natural buffer. We're not gonna clear
Well, I mean, a
that.
buffer doesn't help line of sight buffer, right? Your feet help, but.
Right.
So, I mean, that would help in this, around whatever that building is, their building M, I
Mhm.
believe it is. But, because that other area is open, that wouldn't be screened there, at that point. And really, I guess because of that, it couldn't be. So, is that a fence here then?
Yes.
So, if you put the slats in the fence there at least, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna be
Actually, no,
parked
the
inside
fence,
here.
actually, the fence is gonna be over here on the other side of the detention
So
basin.
what happens with the property behind me is, they park things back there, so I see right through the fence, so I see what's back there. see a
Mind
lot
you,
of
there's
it.
no outdoor storage at all. Everything is inside.
Yeah.
You're talking about the fire
Murphy's Law, yeah, that's today. You're correct, fire services behind me and the other building.
this corner, the first building is gonna, over there, we're gonna clear too. I believe we're not touching anything.
No, but we're clearing over by the railroad because we have to transition grade down the hill. So we
I
are,
wonder how much of the natural, the forest that's there now is gonna be left.
in that corner.
just up in there. Just up in there, because of the detention basin that we gotta build right near your hand. And then south of there, we're gonna be clearing because we have to regrade.
And Doug, is this gonna be asphalt or concrete or combination of
It's all
both?
asphalt
Okay.
around the buildings. So
Okay.
a row of arborvitae's along the railroad, I think we could do, because it's all gonna be,
In the corner in his line of sight.
Well, like I said, that, and I appreciate, us discussing this amenably, but right, remember, this is me here looking back this way, so the arborvitae's would start here somewhere roughly, so that still leaves this area here, I don't know what's gonna.
Probably along the right of way, yeah.
yeah, we're leaving that alone. So we might be able to put a few more along the north side of the fence, Ken.
That would be ideal, like here. Yeah, well, here's the, so here's fire services. Yeah.
I would think both lines, the right-of-way line and that line
The north
on the
line.
north, yeah.
Putting myself up and building up both.
Yeah, I don't know, 100 feet both ways, or,
The more, the better.
There's still gonna be, there's gonna be some natural,
we're not Yes.
touching some of this.
Right.
So whatever.
But if we could put a row, maybe going both ways from that corner, a row of arborvitae's, 100 feet each way is what somebody just mentioned.
yeah.
Okay.
You agree?
Yeah, I almost don't want to agree to a specific number,
It's
you
like,
know?
like here and here is what we're talking about.
I was thinking
Let's-
100 by 100,
Let me just-
100 on the north.
Hold on one
and
second,
100 on the
fellas.
south.
Are we done with public comment? Then we're gonna negotiate with these guys
Yeah,
here,
yeah, yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
Have a
so-
seat, sir,
so
though.
that's-
Just
so that's my
stick around.
issue, and-
No, we
again-
appreciate your comments on that, sir. Let's close public comment and get back to these gentlemen here and what we've just discussed and get some more detail to that so that we can wrap this thing up. If there's any other questions from the board. So we're talking about adding some foliage in that northwest corner
Right.
to block line of sight. I'm sorry, sir, I forgot your name.
Lester.
Lester, Mr. Fox, from that point, from his line of sight towards those buildings. You're gonna say something?
Doug, what's your time? Doug, right, I mean, without seeing a landscaping plan, this is the first time we saw it.
Right.
And I understand we're trying to work, I appreciate your consideration for the neighbor who has concerns about, right now, to the south side, I would be comfortable approving a waiver for,
I would agree.
but until I have a better understanding of what the landscaping looks to the
Northwest?
northwest, or contingent on approval of a landscaping plan.
Or an amended landscaping plan.
Amended landscaping plan that addresses maybe additional landscaping to the east, as well as addressing the northwest corner. Because right now, I mean, I would like to see it on paper before we make any sort of approval, because I appreciate you considering it and saying you'll do it, but sometimes, Doug, we've known each other for a long time.
Yes, we have.
Sometimes it's better to put it on paper, so everyone understands it.
I think what you're saying is if we defer it a month,
Is that
give you-
gonna screw you up too much?
That's,
well, that's what I'm gonna ask Mr. Drenth.
What was that?
They're suggesting we defer it for a month, revise the landscape plan, so they have that a better image of what we're gonna do. We're gonna revise a plan.
That addresses Mr. Fox's concerns in the
I mean-
northwest corner as well as the east side. Is that something that you
I
would,
mean, it's either gonna be that, or we're gonna make it contingent on an updated landscaping plan, so it's gonna be the exact same thing.
yeah, that you're gonna be back and see in front
you're
of
gonna
us
be
again
back.
anyway, I would think, right?
Yeah. So,
Well, I
that'd be
mean,
good.
Mr.
That would-
Decker, is there anything else we should do with that?
That would be better, probably, if you're agreeable.
That allows us to go to
Keep going with the site
plan,
plan.
plan commission.
But it's gonna, he's on the plan commission too.
Oh,
So it's gonna come back.
He's chairman of the planning commission.
No, don't say that.
But I gotta,
Adam, how to best approach it? I don't, it's either defer, or can we make approval via approval of a landscaping plan, but that's two different boards. Landscaping plan is approved by the plan commission, not this board, so I would recommend a deferral. So this board has the
That's
opportunity
why
to
when
make
you
the
were
decision.
talking about all these
Okay.
different changes that I
I'm
don't know
sorry,
how
Doug,
else we would do
it's
that.
because it's two different boards. This board needs to see it.
but I have to point out a technicality.
Sure.
Okay. Let's go back to the GIS, if you would, Sergio. Our property, if you highlight our property, we're zone industrial, and the property to the west is zone industrial. So that's our buffer. the industrial park to the west.
Oh.
I understand he's residential, but he's north of us. He does not adjoin our property. I feel for his concern, I really do. But technically, I don't think we have an obligation to do anything along our west line because it's industrial to our west and industrial to our north. It's kind of a technicality. He's to the northwest. He's not an immediate adjoiner. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just want to point something out.
Right.
Is that industrial to the north, is that B3? Which would make it a different zoning.
I believe it's industrial.
To the north of that property? Is
Right
that
there.
Is that residential?
No, I
It's
believe
industrial.
It's industrial too?
It's industrial.
I
Mhm.
believe it is, yes.
Yep.
So technically, our adjoiners are industrial other than to the east.
Legal non-conforming, yes, sir.
So, new wrinkle. John, what do you think? I mean, do we put a contingency then, or, I mean, do we need to see a plan? We just,
Well,
I guess,
I mean, it comes back, I mean,
it's gonna come back to your board again anyway.
it's gonna come back to the plan commission, and this gentleman, Mr. Fox, could come to the plan commission and state to the plan commission he has issues with the landscaping plan and the plan commission, but.
I appreciate what Mr. Fox has said, but from the standpoint.
And I do
but
too.
Doug- And Doug is absolutely right, based
Yeah.
on how the landscape, but it's,
Sounds like they want to work with us, so I don't,
The landscape plan was just turned in for review.
Right.
I mean, we're going to have a meeting coming up here. I forget the date of the meeting.
but I'm not trying to remember what the landscaping plan requires. Do they have to do landscaping on the north side?
I would say
Yes,
They would?
yes.
Would they have to, would they have to go all the way around?
So when we were going through the ordinances, it talked about landscaping in front of the buildings to the length of half the height. And when discussing with Doug, they said they would meet those requirements. And so that was determined a variance was not required because they agreed to meet that. And so they just distributed a landscape plan this evening, referencing that those requirements would be met.
But I thought that was only on the east side, Sergio.
It was along
Arts-
different zoning use or different classification, which is
what we
on the
did.
east side,
That's what we-
correct?
That's what we provided.
Which is what you've provided, yeah.
Correct. So I don't think your landscape ordinance calls for anything to be done to the west. But Mr. Drenth is agreeable to doing something.
On that northwest corner. So
Yes.
Mr. Fox doesn't have to look at, not that it's gonna be unsightly, but just,
And we appreciate his concern.
want to be good neighbors.
So Sergio or Adam, I have a question. If Doug is bringing up that the additional adjacent properties are industrial to the north and to the west, does he need a variance on the north and the west side of his property if it's same classification?
He does not. 'cause
But not
it's-
here for that variance. We're here for the east side only.
east side.
You're only here for the east side only
Variance is only for the east side.
and the south side.
This is on all peripheral lot lines.
This they all.
I just want to make sure, because if he's not here for a variance on that, I mean, the discussion is somewhat mute, I would say, but I'm not,
The way the agenda is worded, okay, I'll read the code again. Screening shall be provided on all peripheral lot lines where the adjacent property has a different land use. That only occurs on the east side. So it's phrased this way, but it only applies to along Hart Street.
not the south side? Not the south side?
At the south side also.
I'm sorry?
I thought the south side across this,
Well, technically, Three Springs is residential, but we have 1,000 feet of
oh, yeah.
undisturbed ground in between our project
no,
and
no,
Hart,
I gotcha.
Joliet Street. So I didn't see that as being an issue.
Okay, so then the question is, how to proceed from this point? Contingencies, I guess, are the only way we can do this. Deferral, just like we don't have the I guess, the support of a deferral at this point. Mr. Decker, you want to weigh in on that?
I just want to make sure we have the right waiver discussion. It's only the east side.
That's what it appears to be.
Contingency isn't even needed, is it? Or,
I would like to see additional landscaping.
Well, then we'll make that
above
the
and beyond.
contingency, and we do something, and it sounds like you're.
I think it's got to be on the south side too, though, because what's the zoning on the south side of this property?
But he has, I mean,
I know, but he's got 500 feet
Yeah,
of trees and bushes.
he would need he would still need variance for that one, but
Yeah, so the east and the south.
east and the south.
Yeah, we could say that, but
I think, yeah.
I don't think the south's in question, though, 'cause I mean, we're not gonna.
No, but it's still,
It's
you
there.
still need to wait.
again, it's a technicality.
It's, yeah.
If you look at it that way, yes. And again, a reminder for the people, on the south side of the property along Joliet Street, Plan Commission asked us to improve with the sidewalk. So we are doing some clearing, and, well, actually, it's clear over there. We are putting a sidewalk on along the north side of Joliet Street for the good of the town. We are.
And Doug, we're not
And
making you.
it's significant.
You're following code.
Well, I'm sorry.
I'm tired of, no, Doug, I'm just busting, because they're like, the plan commission is making us. No, we're making
Well,
you
and
follow
it's-
the rules.
But
Actually,
it's
there-
significant because
There
it
is
drops off.
consideration for extending that sidewalk, so.
Right,
And
so
there's
in the
there's a box
property,
culvert they're looking at replacing as well.
Right.
So that's great news to hear.
so the property drops off significantly from the edge of the pavement. We
Yeah.
have to move a lot of dirt from one side to the other side just to physically build the sidewalk. So that's all part of this plan. So we are working along there, we are improving the site, but there's no buildings going on over there.
No, that's
And
good news.
And my concern isn't the south side, it's the east and
Right.
and the northwest as we're looking, as a crow flies towards Mr. Fox's house. So that's my I'll do everything I can for residents of the town, which makes sense, and that makes sense to me. So if you guys are okay with doing something like that, I think we probably could work out something in a contingency, Mr. Kennedy, to accommodate that, since we're really, the zoning requirements don't allow for that, or don't, I guess, recognize that particular direction that we're talking about here. If I'm wrong, please let me know.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just briefly, so to try to bring it back to square one, you're considering a variance from the development
Well,
standards.
I need the board, the members of the board need to consider that. I'm here and vote for that, and vote on that behalf, but I'm asking, is that something that we need to do? I mean, how do we wrap this up so that we can get to some resolution without deferral? Because I don't think we have the legs to defer at this point. Correct?
Right, so you're considering a variance from the development standards for the required installation of the screening landscape along the east side of the property, and I think also of the south side. However, law allows you to impose reasonable conditions or commitments as part of that
Okay.
consideration or approval. So in my opinion, if the board is considering the approval of that variance from the development standards, it has the right and may impose reasonable conditions, even if those conditions are not specifically required as part of the zoning ordinance or the subdivision control
Okay.
ordinance. And so I think what has been discussed tonight would be considered a reasonable condition or commitment to be considered by the board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Decker.
Mr. Decker, how do we determine those reasonable, okay, so say we make a contingency of additional landscaping in the northwest corner. Does it have to come back to this board for our approval to verify that? I mean, how do we do we have to say 50 feet?
I would suggest that, yes, that condition or commitment be defined as part of the motion that's, put before the board. So yes, I think you need to define it in terms of perhaps, you could define it as a particular type of tree or shrub. You could define it as deciduous or non-deciduous. I know that was part of the
Spacing,
discussion.
length.
And the length, and the
Yeah.
space, perhaps a distance from a location.
Right.
So I think that should be included, yes.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a recommendation? Because I think a deferral would be appropriate. And to Mr. Drenth and Doug, I appreciate everything you're going through. But until I can see it, I'm not an arborist, and I would like to see something on a drawing, understanding that my recommendation to approve a variance to remove the screening on the east and south side I'm not that concerned with, but on the east, there is some additional consideration for additional plantings, but I don't want to make a decision on a type of tree right now. I just don't know if it's fair to the residents that have come out tonight to make a determination. I don't know what the appropriate length is, Doug and Mr. Drenth, I don't know what that is. But I think it could be amenable to maybe your landscape architect or landscaper can say, this would be beneficial, and then I think I can make an educated decision on that. But in the meantime, before we go on to any other discussion, I will make a motion to approve the waiver for parking, so we can get that out of the way. That the approval of removal of the parking variance will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. That the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner, and the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property, and I have no contingencies with that approval.
I have a motion on the parking portion of their variance request. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now we're to the second part of this.
And that's just my opinion, guys, regarding and we can go around in circles for another 15, 20 minutes.
John. I would just,
And I would just like to see something that puts, so I'll make a motion.
motion for deferral.
I'll
then?
make a motion to defer.
Motion to defer, is that
The
something?
motion's out there.
Okay.
And Doug and Mr. Drent, this understanding of just updated drawing that you're comfortable with, because I don't want to dictate to you guys what you want to put in there, but something you understand what Mr. Fox is requesting, and it'd just be appropriate to have it on paper, so he could review it at the next meeting, or maybe hopefully prior to the next meeting, and then we could review it, and then maybe we could all feel comfortable making a recommendation.
But I think we were just kind of clear the air, we were talking arborvitae's. Mr. Fox was
I
cool
think
with
that's
that.
the right tree for
Yeah.
the use here.
We don't want to have the leaves fall off, and
Right.
those don't fall off.
They grow fast.
A spacing, I don't know. Like John said, we're not arborists here, so maybe 4 to 6 feet or
I think that's reasonable.
spacing, something like that. And
And I think
maybe on
100
the
foot.
northwest corner, 100 feet going on the north property line, and at least 100 feet going
So, and
south.
we're agreeable to that, and I sketched it up real quick, if you want to see it. I'm not a landscape architect, but I could give you the idea how far 100 feet is. But I'm not,
Yeah. And it might need a little more, I don't know. It might
Okay, so-
be 150
so
feet
The
each
motion
way. I
right
don't know.
now, right now, the motion is to defer. I have a motion, do I have a second to defer? And that's probably not what you gentlemen want to do, but I think I'm kind of in agreement with Mr. Kennedy. I got to see stuff in order to understand that we make sure that we're doing the right thing here. I'm sure we're going to be called in question on a lot of things, but
And you mentioned, I think there needs to be some more landscaping on the south side of your detention pond, on the south side. Take a look at that, Doug, and on the north side of your detention pond.
which pond?
The north pond,
North pond?
on the north side, some deciduous trees in there. And then on the south side, take a look at that. Of the south pond.
We're leaving all that as is. It's all natural. We're not clearing any of that. And to the north either. It's wetland.
Okay, that won't be disturbed.
North of our pond, north of our north pond, south of our south pond, we're not disturbing.
Vote on my motion.
I think we're more really concerned about the east side and now, I guess, the
first one, the
northwest
parking,
corner from my
Yeah.
perspective. Again, we have a motion for deferral. Do I have a second for the deferral?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Come back and see us, guys, when you got something we can look at, okay? Appreciate your time
Will
tonight,
do.
Mr. Fox. We appreciate your time as well.
Mhm.
So, gentlemen, if you would like to take that outside, so we can conclude our business here tonight. Otherwise I get yelled at for, you can't hear the. Next on the agenda, new old business, BZA Planning Commission Professional Development Workshop on Wednesday, September 25th, 6 to 8:30 in Town Hall Meeting Room. This is open to the public. And we've got that public comment. We have no one here. We'll close that, and I believe we're adjourned.
BZA meeting,
What did I say?
Wednesday.
It says BZA